I started this video, I don't know, a couple months ago. And I wasn't sure whether I wanted to put it out or not because there's so much stuff on the news, it's just crazy. But I think I'm going to do it anyway. There's been a few other things occur, like a national election. So, there's a couple things I want to call out first. One thing I learned when looking at the big picture, make sure you're in the right room. A little food for thought there. The next thing I'd like to relate is the American's Creed. There are two versions. The original one written by a regular guy like us. Then there's the official one in Congress that was written by a politician and a lawyer. I'm going to read the original one. It was on a historical marker somewhere. There's a picture of it here. The American's Creed. I do not choose to be a common man. It is my right to be uncommon. I seek opportunity to develop whatever talents God gave me, not security. I do not wish to be a kept citizen, humbled and dulled by having the state look after me. I want to take the calculated risk, to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for a dole. I prefer the challenges of life to be guaranteed existence, the thrill of fulfillment to the state calm of utopia. I will not trade freedom for the benefits, nor my dignity for the handout. I will never cower before any earthly master, nor bend to any threat. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud, and unafraid. To think and act myself, enjoy the benefit of my creations, and to face the world boldly and say, this, with God's help, I have done. All this is what it means to be an American. I started this a couple months ago, as I said, so there goes what I started with, and then you'll see where I added on a little bit later. I've been binge watching T.J. Hooker. It was on TV from 1982 to 86. If I didn't know better, I'd swear the shows were written from this year's headlines, excluding COVID. The difference this time is the result of student education having actually been indoctrination towards socialism for the last 20 to 30 years. The Democrats and rhinos pushed it. We've been watching riots, looting, burning, statue toppling, even autonomous zones. The difference this time, COVID-19 is being used as a hammer. COVID is a virus we were blessed with as a major American disruptor by the Red Chinese. Now that it is free in the world, it's here to stay. All world-changing diseases have never been totally eradicated. Polio, TB, Ebola, HIV, Nile virus, even leprosy are still lurking somewhere. Others like mumps, measles, chickenpox, and more are held off by vaccines. They too are still lurking. Diseases are a fact of life. The rioters and looters are actually getting away with murder in some cases. That started when a bad cop kept his foot on a perf's neck for about 8 minutes. Bad judgment for sure, as the man died. But the media never emphasized he was also pumped full of drugs that would have and was killing him at the same time. The media only focused on the cop. Police brutality became a battle cry. It's a case of the old adage, one bad apple spoils a bunch. Like disease, there will be a bad apple in a bunch. We try to sort them out, but generation to generation, they will always pop up sometime. The media only focuses on what perpetuates the socialist agenda. Practically all having been educated in the last 20 to 30 years, they know nothing about this country. They only know what the socialists have taught them. Most are not aware enough to question anything. They just repeat what idiot bosses say. The outcome this time may destroy America. China then moves in, possibly accompanied or in competition with Russia. Time will tell. I remember riots. They were led by groups called MOVE and the Black Panthers. Law enforcement went to evict occupants of their Philadelphia headquarters. The outcome? After a cop died, the battle ended by the police dropping a firebomb, destroying the entire square block of row houses, killing 11 and 250 became homeless. The Panthers weren't heard from again for 30 years. Some showed up at polling places to intimidate voters to vote for Clinton. That did not last. Today we have Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Both groups are worldwide, at least in Western countries. Antifa was born from the trophy generation. No scores were kept in competitive games. Everybody got a trophy. All are winners. No losers. Of course, real life isn't like that. Along with indoctrination, the trophy kids think they can do whatever they want. We owe them a trophy. So like spoiled brats, they're throwing temper tantrums. They organize on social media. They are funded and trained by socialists. The truck shows up with pre-printed signs, pallets of bricks to throw up police are strategically placed, etc. Burning vehicles and businesses. Only this time it's happening in Democrat-controlled states and cities. All too stupid to put a stop to it. A summer of love in Chicago. What an idiot for a mayor. Whenever Black Lives Matter is said, the media always forgets to add Incorporated. It's an organization run and funded by socialists and Marxists. Companies are funding BLM with millions of dollars. They feel a need to be politically correct at the expense of the country, showing indoctrination. Until recently, both groups worked together. As always happens with dual groups, a rift develops. We can only hope they eliminate each other. The whole world knows who is behind the funding dispersed by various connected front organizations. Some government needs to solve that problem. We've been listening to the experts on contending with the COVID-19 virus for nearly a year. Expert is a synonym for a know-it-all. Over the last year, the know-it-all clan has been reversing themselves almost weekly. Governors are waving their magic scepters, and we must comply. All the restrictions put on us are all unconstitutional. We've been complying to help flatten the curve so the hospitals could keep up. It's all politics now. The citizens won't stand for it much longer. I look at the virus like a balloon, essentially representing the curve. When you push down on a balloon to get it to fit somewhere, an example of Society for a virus, it didn't go away. It became distributed differently. The same with COVID. The only way to really lessen the balloon is to let the air out. Vaccines are the virus airletters. But even with no air, the balloon still exists. In summation, 2020 has been a trying time. Rioters fight, loot, burn with no consequence. But if you go into business without a mask, you can be arrested under a non-existing law dreamed up by a brain-damaged politician incapable of logical reasoning. Why? Because they weren't taught to think, but obey. It's been a few months since I worked on this. There has been a presidential election, a very contested election. There were last-minute state law changes. Polling places in at least 5 states stopped counting ballots at the same exact time. Observers of the count were sent home or blocked in other ways. Lots of questions to be answered. Some states are auditing and recounting. Ballots are found in trash bags and dumpsters. Ballots are required to be held for 22 months after an election. More questions. Joe Biden is now president. Only a fool would say he is fine. It's more than obvious that he's become mentally challenged. Also, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, pushed a second impeachment of President Trump, and he only had a week left in office. She did that because the Democrats gained the House majority, and the Senate is now 50-50. The Vice President, Kamala Harris, will break ties in favor of the Democrats. During the impeachment fiasco, Pelosi had a group meeting exploring the use of the 25th Amendment to the Constitution. It allows a vote of the Cabinet to acknowledge the President is incapacitated and can no longer serve. He will be replaced by the Vice President, and a new Vice President will be appointed, similar to when Nixon resigned. We are awaiting the announcement that the removal has occurred. Biden takes no questions. His live broadcast feed is cut off at question time. This is elder abuse in front of the entire world. Harris has handled all the international calls with all the world leaders. As I write this, it was March 12th. Biden just did a speech with no focus, and he was led away. For over 100 years, the President has broadcast the State of the Union message on January 20th. Before that, a written report was presented to Congress. Biden has not delivered the required address as required by the Constitution. Today, the Democrats passed a $1.9 trillion so-called COVID bill. Only 9% of all that will go to COVID vaccine production and distribution. President Trump already had all that set up, and Biden's administration is taking credit for the Trump's Warp Speed program. If anything, they have screwed it up. The first day Biden was in office, the first thing he did was stop the wall and construction of the XL pipeline that will bring oil from Canada. We got hit with a nationwide freeze about the same time. Now gas prices have risen about 50 cents a gallon, right around $3. It's projected to be $4 by Memorial Day. Gun legislation was passed by the House today that will lead to a registry. Now it goes to the Senate. The Second Amendment of the Federal Constitution reads, "A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Pennsylvania, Article 1, Section 21 of the Pennsylvania State Constitution states, "The right of the citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned." Pretty explicit. These are our founding documents, our basic laws of the land and state. It is a documented fact that the reason the Japanese did not attack our mainland was the observation that there would be a gun behind every blade of grass. I have news for the socialist pushers. That has not changed. On January 6th, the official Electoral College vote count was held and was challenged but Vice President Pence did not follow through with the challenge process. President Trump held a large rally on the Mall. Over 100,000 supporters came out to support. There was trouble already brewing at the Capitol building 20 minutes before Trump finished his speech. There were Antifa and other instigators who broke into the Capitol building, having been shown to be totally unarmed. They should not have forced their way in. The Democrats keep calling it an insurrection. The sad joke is, Pelosi and friends got the crap scared out of them. All at once they found they are vulnerable. Pelosi is in charge of security on Capitol Hill. Overnight, an unclimbable wall dressed with razor wire now surrounds the Capitol. 25,000 National Guard troops are guarding the fence. Our socialist leaders are scared to death. The wall that was being built on the southern border was, they called, immoral. But the Washington Wall is now a necessary evil. We now have an influx of drugs, illegals coming from everywhere by the thousands. All this was under control with Trump amnesty deals with Mexico and other South American countries. In less than 2 months, the Democrats have destroyed the peace and stability that Trump worked to bring about. There are 4 new Middle East peace treaties with Israel, thanks to a different approach by Trump. Biden has already bombed Syria. The next 4 years may lead to total socialism here or civil war. I want to close this out with a couple of quotes. One from Thomas Paine, one of our founders. And it reads, "If there must be trouble, let it be in my day, that my child may have peace." The second quote is by a man, an author. His name is G.K. Chesterton. His quote is, "A true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him." No truer words there. I don't know what's going to happen, folks, but be prepared. And as always, I want to wish everyone all the best.